Hey, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a video. And if this one helps you out, a like means a lot to us. Let's get into it. Walk into any grocery store and spend 5 minutes reading the front of packages. You will see the word natural on dozens of products within the first 2 aisles. Natural, all natural, made with natural ingredients, 100% natural. The word is everywhere, on chips, on juice, on cereal, on snack bars, on frozen meals, on condiments, on crackers, and it is doing a very specific job. It is making you feel like the product is wholesome, unprocessed, and closer to something your body should be consuming rather than something that came off an industrial production line. It is implying a standard of quality that you are probably willing to pay a premium for. Here is what the word natural on a food label in the United States legally requires of the manufacturer who puts it there. Almost nothing. The FDA, the federal agency responsible for regulating food labeling, has no formal legal definition for the word natural when used on food packaging. There is no minimum standard a product must meet. There is no certification a manufacturer must obtain. There is no ingredient list a product must comply with. There is no processing method that is required or prohibited. A company can put the word natural on its packaging and face essentially no regulatory consequence for doing so, because the word has no enforceable legal meaning in that context. This is not a technicality or a loophole. It is the deliberate and long-standing absence of regulation around one of the most commercially valuable words in the food industry. The FDA does have what it calls an informal policy on the term, a position that natural should mean nothing artificial or synthetic has been included in or added to the product that would not normally be expected to be there. But this informal policy is not consistently enforced, does not have the force of law, has no clear mechanism for consumer complaint, and has resulted in no meaningful industry-wide standard. It is guidance with no teeth, and the food industry has responded to it accordingly. The history of how this situation came to exist is worth understanding because it reveals how deliberately the current state of affairs was arrived at. The FDA attempted to formally define the term natural in the 1990s, and the effort stalled. They opened a formal public comment period in 2015, specifically to gather input on whether to establish a legal definition, received thousands of comments from consumers, advocacy groups, manufacturers, and researchers, and then in 2016 quietly closed the process without establishing a definition. The agency stated it did not have sufficient resources to undertake the rulemaking process. The food industry, which had lobbied extensively against a strict definition, continued to use the term freely, and consumers continued to pay premium prices for products labeled with a word that the regulatory agency responsible for food safety could not bring itself to define. Let's look at specific examples of what has appeared in products labeled natural, because the gap between the word and the reality has been documented extensively through litigation. High fructose corn syrup, an ingredient produced through a multi-step industrial enzymatic process that converts cornstarch into a concentrated fructose syrup, has appeared in products marketed as natural. This is not an edge case. A major US soda brand marketed its product as 100% natural for years, while the product contained high fructose corn syrup, a sweetener that no reasonable interpretation of the word natural would encompass. The claim ran until public and legal pressure forced a change. Snapple built its entire brand identity around the claim made from the best stuff on earth and all natural, while its products contained high fructose corn syrup. The company settled a class action lawsuit over these claims. Naked Juice, owned by PepsiCo, marketed itself heavily as all natural while containing synthetic vitamins and other non-natural ingredients, and also settled a significant class action. Frito-Lay settled lawsuits over natural claims on products that contained ingredients processed with synthetic chemicals. In case after case, products carrying confident natural claims in large print on the front of their packaging have been found in litigation to contain ingredients that the consumers who bought them on the basis of that claim would not have considered natural at all. The reason these cases settle rather than resulting in clear regulatory action is precisely the absence of a legal definition. Without a defined standard, proving in court that a product's natural claim is fraudulent is difficult. The food company can argue, with some legal merit, that the term is aspirational marketing language rather than a factual claim subject to strict scrutiny. The settlements happen because the companies would rather pay than have discovery proceedings reveal internal documents about how these labeling decisions were made. But the fundamental problem, the undefined term, remains unchanged after every settlement. Genetically modified ingredients present another dimension of this issue. There is no requirement that a product containing GMO ingredients, ingredients derived from organisms whose genetic material has been altered in ways that do not occur naturally, disclose that fact on the front of the package or remove a natural claim. A product can contain ingredients from genetically modified organisms and still carry an all-natural label. Whether or not you have strong views on the safety or ethics of genetic modification in food production, the use of the word natural to describe a product containing ingredients altered at the genetic level through laboratory processes is a significant stretch of any plain language meaning of the term. Now let's talk about the broader ecosystem of meaningless or nearly meaningless terms on food packaging, because natural is the most prevalent, but not the only one. The word wholesome has no legal definition on food labels. Pure has no legal definition on food labels. Simple and simplified have no legal definition on food labels. Clean, which became a major marketing trend through the clean eating movement, has no legal definition and no regulatory meaning whatsoever. Any product can call itself clean, regardless of what it contains. Artisan and artisanal have no legal definition and can be applied to mass-produced industrial food products with no consequence. Homemade and homestyle have no legal definition and are used freely on products manufactured in factories at industrial scale. Ancient grains is a marketing term with no regulatory definition. Any grain can be described as ancient. Hormone-free on chicken deserves particular attention because it is a textbook example of a technically true claim that is designed to mislead. Federal regulations prohibit the use of hormones in the raising of chickens and turkeys. Every chicken sold in the United States is therefore hormone-free by law. A package of chicken labeled hormone-free is communicating something that is true of every package of chicken on the shelf, regardless of label. It is simply not disclosed on the others. The label implies a distinction that does not exist, creating the impression of a premium standard while charging a premium price for what is legally the baseline for all chicken products. Contrast all of this with the terms that do carry genuine regulatory weight. USDA Organic has a strict legal definition enforced through a federal certification program. To carry the USDA Organic seal, a product must contain at least 95% certified organic ingredients, and the certification process involves inspection, documentation, and ongoing compliance requirements. Organic is not a perfect or universally agreed upon standard, but it is a defined and enforced one. Non-GMO Project Verified is a third-party certification with its own testing and verification standards. Fair Trade Certified involves independent auditing of supply chains. Certified Humane is a verified animal welfare standard. These labels mean something specific and verifiable because a defined standard sits behind them. The fundamental distinction is between a front-of-package marketing claim, which is commercial speech subject to only the loosest truthfulness requirements, and a label backed by a defined standard, a certification body, or a regulatory requirement. The front of a food package is where companies communicate what they want you to feel about their product. The back of the package, specifically the ingredients list and the nutrition facts panel, is where the regulation lives. The ingredients list is the most valuable piece of information on any food package, and it is the one most people look at least. Ingredients are listed in descending order by weight, meaning the first ingredient is the largest component of the product by volume. If the first 3 ingredients of a product labeled all natural include sugar, high fructose corn syrup, or any variation of sweetener, and they often do, the all natural claim on the front is irrelevant to the actual composition of what you are buying. The ingredients list is regulated, required to be accurate, and cannot be manipulated the way front of package claims can. It is the only part of the label that is genuinely informative. The psychology driving the effectiveness of the word natural is worth naming because it explains why the marketing works so well despite being so thin on substance. Humans have a cognitive bias, documented in behavioral psychology under the term the naturalistic fallacy, that equates natural with safe, healthy, and good, while equating processed or artificial with risky and inferior. This bias was adaptive when natural things were genuinely more likely to be edible, and unfamiliar manufactured substances were genuinely more likely to be harmful. In the context of a modern food supply where everything is processed to some degree, and where the word natural is applied to industrial products, the bias bias is being systematically exploited. Food that is labeled natural triggers this bias and makes buyers feel they are making a healthier and more responsible choice. The feeling is real. The basis for it is not. And because the feeling is real, consumers pay more for it. Studies show that natural labeled products command price premiums of 10 to 30% over equivalent products without the claim. That premium flows directly to the manufacturer for a word that cost them nothing to put on the packaging and required them to meet no standard to earn. The practical shift this video is asking for is simple. The front of the package is marketing. Treat it the way you would treat any other advertisement, with appropriate skepticism and an understanding that it is designed to sell, not to inform. Flip to the back. Read the ingredients. Look at the nutrition facts. The information there is regulated and required to be accurate. If a product's ingredients list is short and contains things you recognize and would actually cook with, that is meaningful regardless of what the front says. If a product's ingredients list is long and contains things you cannot identify or pronounce, the word natural printed in large friendly type on the front does not change what you are about to eat. The food industry is very good at its job. The word natural is proof of that. It is one of the most commercially successful pieces of packaging language ever deployed. A single word that has generated billions of dollars in premium pricing and brand loyalty built on a foundation of no regulatory meaning whatsoever. Knowing that changes nothing about the food, but it changes what you pay for it, and it changes who gets to decide what goes in your cart. Drop a comment if there is a specific product you have bought believing it was natural that you want us to look into. We read every single one, and that would make for a great follow-up video. And if you want us to dig into other food label terms that sound more meaningful than they are, let us know below. Hit the like button if this helped, subscribe and tap the bell if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.